This is Chris Kelly with our Peak Fitness nutrition coaching presentation. And this is just a quick overview of our system and kind of how it works and what we utilize to not only teach a client to eat, but how to overcome, hindrances to why they haven't done so in the past. So if we look at reasons why clients fail with nutrition, we have things like poor adherence, just not doing it at all, or very inconsistent eating of different things over time. Boredom would be another one. Simply getting bored with what you're doing. And so, random eating is something that I see commonly. Somebody will do well for a couple days, but then they'll fall off the wagon because they want something else. In some cases, it's just a lack of information, which is pretty surprising given the amount of information out there. But in some cases, people ask me things like, "Is rice a carb? Is cream of wheat, a protein?" Like it really you can never assume. So that's another one. And then vitamin deficiency would be another one. A lot of people have really poor vitamin deficiency. They rarely take a multivitamin. They have a poor diet. And this is something that I've really kind of turned on to in the last couple of years because I've seen the effect it can really have when somebody starts to take their vitamins again, starts to get balanced, how much better they feel and how much better their mind works as well. So all of these things are things that we want to address with our program. And if we look at nutrition levels, again, there is no cut and dry way to describe a client. But basically, when I'm looking at nutrition for a client, I'm going to put clients into two levels. Level one would be somebody that's coming in with little to no structured activity, meaning they are a random eater. They probably don't exercise much. They have poor food timing. They just kind of eat whatever, whenever, and that's a problem because everything is all over the place. And so to expect a client to adhere to all of these nutritional rules and everything else, that's a hard process. And really, for me, when I see this happen, what I've found to be the best solution is a combination of nutrition classes, which we offer to teach them basic skills over time, as opposed to dropping a lot of new things on them at once, and then putting them on a pretty structured thing that they can follow. And that's changed for me a lot. I used to believe that, we want to just take it step by step and habit by habit, but the reality is that we need a plan to follow in the beginning. We need some sort of motivation, okay? And so as you'll see with our weight loss contests, that's going to give somebody the ability to, really focus and galvanize their efforts and stick to something. So even afterwards, they can sort of revert to our template, if nothing else, to structure how they eat. Now, for level two, we have somebody that's pretty consistent as far as their activity goes, and as far as diet goes as well. They have pretty good adherence. They are able to. They know about food timing. They know that, for example, we want to get our carbs, our starchy carbs after we work out. They know what a fat, protein, and carb is. They have pretty good adherence. And so with that client, what we teach them to do is to calculate their macros and to start to manipulate calorie counting and incorporate carb cycling and that kind of thing. Because for that individual, we're probably talking about something that somebody that is getting down to the last 5 to 10 pounds. So that's something that we really want to look at as well. All right, so as far as our coaching program goes, we offer nutrition classes twice a week, okay? And that's Monday and Wednesday at 7 p.m. Our goal with these classes is just to give our client a basic overview of healthy eating over a long period of time, okay? How to fit things into their diet on a busy schedule. Some topics that we cover, what your plate should look like for eating a meal anytime versus eating a meal versus eating a meal after workout. What is a carb versus a protein? How do we shop? Simple things that the client can take away and apply to their daily life and sort of cut down on the dogma that they might find with a lot of these over-the-counter diet and exercise programs. We also offer a diet and a supplementation program along with that. While they're coached in our nutrition classes, we put them on a pretty structured diet that basically lays out everything, okay? And that is our goal with this program, is to lay things out. I mean, again, we want clients to have, some structure that gives them the ability to know what they're doing, okay? And so with those two things, the client becomes, a pretty good eater quickly, and we sort of transition them away from that to make their own decisions as they go along. But it's almost like we give them training wheels, and then we move to more of riding a bike on their own. And our nutrition challenge is the thing that supports that motivation. Okay, and we at Peak, we use a company called Vima. Okay, which is they have this thing called the Body Challenge. Vima is a supplement and a vitamin company. And again, addressing the issue of vitamin deficiency. This is something that, again, I find with many, many clients. And this is not always going to be the case. But if your client is not taking a multivitamin, then we can sign them up for a pretty good. Vima makes a great multivitamin that is a liquid, actually, and it helps to get the client sort of balanced in that way. And it also has this thing called the Body Challenge, where we can actually sign the client up. They can upload pictures, and they're registered to win up to, I think it's $100,000 or something through these 12-week cycles. But for us, we're going to do this in a 30-day nutrition challenge. And what that means is that we do a before and after picture of the client. We measure them in weekly. We check their nutrition log. And then again, if it is appropriate, we give them vitamin supplementation. All right, all of those things are going to help the client to be better for what we're looking for. As far as making money with nutrition goes, we sign our coaches up if they're interested as affiliates with us. And again, that doesn't cost any money. But what it basically amounts to is that when you sign up as an affiliate, you can sell these vitamin products, and you'll get a commission every time the client buys something. So that way, you're making extra money. You're motivated to sell this stuff to your clients. You're motivated to weigh them in and do the nutrition log check. And really, for me, I cannot emphasize enough that in order to, retain your clients, to make them clients of yours for nutrition, it's important that we follow up with weighing in and checking nutrition logs. All right, this is sort of the go-between and the thing that's going to keep the client motivated while they're on their supplementation, and while they're doing our program. And as far as nutrition strategies go, we're going to get into this. I always thought this was an interesting picture. Richard Simmons in a salad, probably the least appetizing thing I can think of. But if you look at this picture, you're probably not going to want to eat much for a very long time. So if we look at our level 1 client, we have what we call a 21-day diet. Okay, and this is also called our sugar deprivation diet. We call it deprivation simply because we're not taking away anything healthy. We're not telling the client to go on an Atkins-based diet, for example, but we're eliminating processed foods and we're giving them basically a system by which to eat. So we lay out exactly what to eat and how much, and we develop this basic discipline. And the idea is mindset. Okay, we want the client to understand that here's a basic template of how to eat. But again, it's not the end all be all. So we want to focus on the process versus the idea that, hey, I'm going to lose 20 pounds or whatever it may be. This is the goal, as opposed to saying, we're gonna really blast some fat. I mean, both are going to happen, but we want to focus on the process versus the outcome. And so our guidelines are for this diet. We begin the first 3 days with a green smoothie, okay, and veggies only, and that's going to prime the body for the rest of our diet. And from there, we give the client a shopping list, okay. We want them to only eat foods on their shopping list, and then again, eat 5 times a day, okay. And those could be small snacks, but again, we're patterning the behaviors that we ultimately want to leave the client with, all right. So we have one cheat meal once a week. We limit that to 2 hours, and again, with condiments and drinks. We're trying to cut out water. I'm sorry, not water. We're trying to cut out sugar as much as we can. So calorie-free supplements are okay, or condiments, but we want to stay clear of things like, added sugar, Miss Dash seasoning, things that have, extra calories in it. And when we talk about drinks, it's the same thing. Water and green tea versus, say, Sprite or Coke. And so we give the client a sample meal plan. And again, this is just something where you'll notice that we just repeat 3 days over and over. And that's kind of how I like to prescribe nutrition to the client, or to recommend nutrition to the client. Again, we're not nutritionists, so we cannot prescribe anything per se, but we give them an example, and I tell the client, for whatever you're going to prepare, try to do 2 days back to back. That's going to give us the ability to prep throughout the week and make it easy. Stick to that for at least 2-3 weeks. At least we're able to go back to back with that, and we know if we get to a day where we're not able to get a lot of food that day, or we haven't prepped for that day, we know basically what to eat as a substitute, or we know what to prep in the middle of the week if we do run out of food. As far as our sample meal template goes, again, this is just a basic schematic of how we put together a meal. So for breakfast, you're having one protein with 1 to 2 veggies. For mid-morning snack, you're having basically fat or protein, which is, we include in our quick snacks category. For lunch, it's the same thing. And for dinner, it's basically the same thing. We advocate a pre and post workout shake. And then we also advise the client if your goal is health versus fat loss, then you can also include a starchy carb after your workout. The other thing that we want to promote throughout our program are these basic nutrition habits. Okay, and this goes right along with the diet. These are not things that, these are basically common sense things that support our eating template. But the idea of eat until you're 80% full, meaning take longer to eat your larger meals during the day. Including veggies with each meal, including protein with each meal. If fat loss is your goal, subbing potatoes, rice, pasta with a double serving of veggies, and then prioritizing whole sources of fat, such as eggs, meat, olives, fish, nuts, and seeds. And again, this is something that I advise the client to, put in their wallet. You can print it out, you can and just check it out every time you're making a meal. In this way, it gives you a schematic to follow versus just blindly eating. And along with that, this is our anytime plate. Okay, and this is just a play off of the USDA's plate that they use for their website or for their program. And the idea is that you can have this anytime. You'll notice that our largest portion of nutrition here are veggies, whereas our second largest are protein, and it's a little bit cut off there, but fat would be a smaller portion. And this is something that, for couch potatoes that are never working out, if we eat in this way all the time, they're going to lose body fat that way because protein and veggies are more costly to burn physically. So, they cost more calories to burn than, say, eating a high carb diet. So that's the logic behind that. And that's something that we can cycle with our next slide, which is our starchy carb plate. When we are working out, we want to have our starchy carbs, but when we're not, this is basically what we're eating. So for our post-workout plate, you'll notice we have a starch, a veggie, and a protein. So again, for starches, this is where we include our oats, our rice, our potatoes, our pasta, and it's okay, because at this point, our body is going to actually be using this stuff for fuel versus anything else. Now, as far as supplementation goes, where do we have our post-workout shake? All right, or what do we eat before workout? Oftentimes, you'll notice if a client comes in feeling nauseous or they just start to get lightheaded, that's an insulin problem, meaning their blood sugar's dropping. So I always advise my clients to eat at least something little before they work out. If we're talking 2 to 3 hours before workout, that's eggs or a protein shake. It's a whole meal. You can really have whatever. Whereas 30 to 60 minutes before, we want to look at something faster digesting. So we could talk about things like skinless fruits, protein shakes, or even, maybe a G2 or a Gatorade. And if we're, if we're right at workout, sipping a protein throughout the workout is going to, again, help to balance blood sugar, a protein shake, and that's what we want. As far as, I'm not going to worry about that. For level 2 clients, it's a little bit different. For these clients, we're assuming that they're doing a lot of the stuff that we discussed with our level 1. So what we're going to do with them is actually teach them how to calculate their calories and their macros. And again, this is another handout that I'm going to give our clients, but this is something that is cut and dried. I mean, when we know our calories in, our calories out every day and our macros, we're able to make spot adjustments to really see some quick change. And if we plateau, we can tweak this here, tweak that there, and we can expect to see some pretty good results. Now, if we look at calorie needs, this is a chart of how much we multiply the client's body weight based upon the number of body weight based upon this number. All right. So if we're a sedentary individual shooting to lose weight, I might start at my body weight times 10. Okay. Whereas if I'm very active, I might start at 14. And the idea is that we want to start as high as we possibly can and then work down. Okay. But as a nutrition coach, if you're working with your client in that way, you can teach them to multiply this and figure their body weight out, or figure their their calories out to plug into either a FitClick, or if it fits your macros, or a MyFitnessPal, based upon what they're trying to do. from there, we're going to determine macronutrients, all right? And that's going to be done by understanding the percentage of carbs, fat, and protein that we're going to have based upon our goal, all right? When we're talking about muscle gain, it would be, if it would be higher in carbs, lower in protein. Whereas if we're talking about fat loss, which is muscle gain on the top, I need to change that. We would be talking about lower carb, higher protein. So again, these macros can range, and we can play around with them as we go along, and that's kind of the idea. But again, this just gives us sort of a starting point to work from, and we could say to somebody, okay, we're going to start you at 40% protein, 40% carbs, 20% fat, or whatever it may be in these ranges. And so if we're looking at fat loss, the idea is that we have one high day throughout the week, because the high day is going to act sort of as a reboot for metabolism. So we're basically doing a lot of low days where we're having pretty low carb, followed by one high day where we recarb in order to raise hormone levels. And again, this is an example of how we might set up a weekly schedule. And if we put it all together, again, you can see this equation where we develop the client's calories and then their ranges based upon their macros.